So I want to turn your attention now to July 5th, 2018. Okay. It was a Thursday. Do you remember about what time you got there?
I don't. I mean, I know it was after I got off work, so typically on a patrol, our shifts were, 5:30 to 6, so it was sometime in the afternoon.
And when you arrived, just about how many people do you remember seeing there when it comes to emergency personnel or law enforcement? The number I was not going to give you is going to be accurate, but I would say there was at least 20, 25 people there at a minimum. And when you came to the property, where did you go to first? What were you doing?
I don't remember exactly where I met, but I remember I went up and I met with the other crime scene personnel on scene and was directed to. I was given my initial task of what they wanted me to help with.
If I have your time down, y'all use military time. Make sure that's right. 17:12.
5:12. Yeah.
Is that about an accurate time? You think around that time you got there?
Probably, yes, sir.
So when you get there, what is the first thing that you are tasked with doing?
So the first kind of thing that I was tasked with doing was processing a Kubota tractor that was parked over next to the barn.
And we're going to get into the pictures, things like that. But just to cut to the chase, did you get any samples for blood from the tractor?
I did, sir.
Now this is a tractor, and there's an RTV there too. Is that right?
Yes, sir. There was.
But we're talking about the Kubota tractor.
It's a mid-sized farm tractor, no cab, with a loader on it.
What kind of tractor do you have?
I've got two. I've got a New Holland 6635 and an LS MT122.
Now, Kubota tractors, those are they nice tractors?
They are.
Are they easy to drive, this type of tractor?
I mean, I think they are, but.
So what size of a tractor is it compared to a regular tractor on a farm?
I don't remember the exact size of, like, the horsepower and all that stuff of the tractor. I would have to look at a picture to tell you, but it was an adequate tractor in my opinion, for what they were doing.
And on this tractor, so I want to make sure we get this. If you were stepping up, if you're sitting if I was driving the tractor, sitting in the driver's seat.
Correct.
So this is left side, right side from where I'm sitting in the
correct
driver's seat. So on the left side, there's a footstep. Did you take some swabbings from blood there?
I did, sir.
And did you follow your procedure and how you did all that swabbings?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you properly seal it, bag it, package it, send it to the sheriff's office, and then it was sent off to the GBI?
Correct.
And was that the blood that came back on the foot there, on that step?
You talking about the one that was tested that returned? Yes.
Did you check for any other type of evidence on the tractor?
Yes, so I also took touch DNA. I did 9 touch DNA swabs in various locations around the controls of the tractor. So the steering wheel, the examples of the steering wheel, the shifter, the lever that controls the loader on the tractor, stuff like that. I took where people would commonly touch. I took touch DNA swabs.
Blood on the step of the tractor.
Yes, sir.
And then I think, did you help? You were working at times, helping, assisting, watching, being present when the other crime scene technicians did things?
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Ballard, who is that?
So Lieutenant Ballard, he is actually the lieutenant over the crime scene unit. So he's assigned to CID as a department head. So under CID, there's several department heads. So prime example, and I may get the names wrong, but we have white collar, we have general crimes, we have major crimes, that stuff. So what they do is they have them broken down into sections, and there's a lieutenant over each section. So he's the lieutenant over. I'm not sure what he does. He's over the crime scene unit and another section. So we're also a duty he has.
Very good guy, very smart guy. You like working with him?
I do.
He may not testify because y'all were other people were with him at the time, but
correct.
Is he over the crime scene?
He is, sir.
Yeah, very, very good guy. Like working with him. Now, when he was spraying the Kubota, the RTV, he was using something called Blue Star. What is Blue Star?
So Blue Star is a chemical that's designed to enhance specimens of blood or where we think blood may be. And when you spray it on, like you would any kind of household chemical or cleaner or whatever, it's out of a spray bottle. You spray it on, and when you spray it on, it fluoresces.
So it's a technique you use, a chemical you use to see if there's blood present.
Yes.
Now, when Blue Star, can it interact or react to other things besides blood?
Yeah, so Blue Star is designed to react to blood of a mammal, humans, other mammals. And also, it's designed. It will react to, because what it's reacting to is the iron in the blood, and it will also react to iron as well. But if it's just straight iron and not blood, it will show differently, basically.
So mammalian blood.
Yes.
And mammal blood.
So if it's just a sample of iron, it'll flash real quick and go away typically. If it's a sample of blood, it'll flash and stay for a period of time and slowly, I guess the illumination will slowly go away.
So let me go back to that. So if you spray it and it's not blood, it pops?
It'll pop real quick and go away.
Okay, but if it is blood, mammalian blood, mammal blood.
Correct. It'll stay, and it won't stay forever. You've got to, you basically have to be set up ready to photo it when you do it, but you got 30, 45 seconds for it to kind of stay up, and it kind of just slowly the fluorescence will slowly dissipate.
And when you were with Lieutenant Ballard and y'all were processing the RTV, it too is a Kubota brand?
Yes, it's a Kubota RTV, which is it's a side-by-side, like a Polaris Ranger or a Kawasaki Mule or whatever. It's a side-by-side used by construction workers, people working on farms, stuff like that.
The lever for the hydraulic dump bed in the dash area, when it was Blue Star, did it fluoresce?
It did.
When you went over the tractor, the dash area, did it also fluoresce?
Give me just a second. Let me look back at my report for a minute. I don't remember. I have it. In my report it says that the step did, but I don't remember the dash. I'd have to look at photos.
It's all right. So the lever for the hydraulic dump, the bed, and the step did indicate presence of blood.
Correct.
Now, at some point, you're processing the house. Did you go into the actual inside of the house at all and help out?
Yes.
And I think there were some things you were looking. What things there did you notice?
At what point?
Well, let me go back to so I think you were there on the 5th, and y'all, it was when you processed the tractor and the RTV. Is that right?
The tractor and the RTV and I took photographs of the barn and whatnot.
Right. Lots of photographs. We're going to see those.
Okay.
And then, did you come back on July 6th, which is Friday, the next day?
Yes, sir, I did.
And I think you probably went to the house in the basement at some point?
I did.
What did you notice down there?
So I went in there and assisted Sergeant Carter while we collected and helped him collect some evidence. We collected samples of hair that was on a wall. We collected various other things, and then I was tasked to process several garbage cans that were in the downstairs office in the house.
When you processed the garbage can, I believe it was the trash can out of Gary's office in the basement, do you remember what was anything in particular that was in there broken?
Yes, so you want me to tell you everything that was in the can or just the broken items that were in there?
Go ahead.
So in the can there was cigarette packs, leftover food, papers. There was also a broken plate that was in there. It was all taken, and when we process stuff like that, I had to take it out and lay it out because I had to photograph it all. So I took it out, placed out a tarp to keep it to where I could lay it all out and take a picture and photograph the whole thing.
Sometimes when I go to a crime scene, I stick my hands in my pocket and just kind of let the scene talk to me. What's there and what does that mean? Do you look for evidence to see where you can take an inference and say, okay, I see this evidence, this probably means this? You ever do that?
I mean, sometimes, but what we typically do is we give the information we find to the detectives because they're the ones that have been talking to people. We say this is possible, this may not be possible, this is the evidence we found, and then they basically put it together with their statements and people that they've interviewed and whatnot like that.
Yeah, Gary Farris was dead on the day that you went out there and processed that, but in his trash can, was there any indication whether or not he liked Mountain Dew?
Yes, there was a plethora of Mountain Dew cans.
Lots of them?
Yes.
Did you also help process some, I guess, some shoes and a shirt?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
At one point, we were kind of coming through the master bed. I would assume the master bedroom in the house, or in a study. And in the closet in that bedroom, there was a red color shirt that had several stains on it, which was photographed. And then there was also several pairs of shoes that had. There was I think one was a teal colored pair of shoes, and the other one was multicolored pair of shoes. They were in the same closet, and one of them, or they had both of them had stains on them, which were tested, and obviously I photographed the shoes.
Did you find anything that was consistent with soot or ash or anything like that?
So on the red shirt that I photographed, I noticed a black stain. I believe it was on the back, down around the bottom, and it had the appearance of ash or soot.
And then someone else was processed that?
I'm assuming, yes.
Okay. And the garbage can, did you think there was possible blood on that, or did you
I
just
did.
try to take some samples?
So that on one of the garbage cans downstairs, I noticed two reddish brown stains, and at the time, based on the scene, I assumed that they may be blood based off the color. So I did collect them so that they could be tested to see if they were in fact blood.
The parts that stipulate to the GBI reports, those are going to come in, but do you even know what the results are on some of those?
Not on all of them, no.
And it is what it is, and we'll bring those in. We've stipulated to those, but you, everything that you process, the tractor, the RTV, helping with that, the cans, the garbage cans, the swabbings from those and everything else, did you properly follow your procedures to bag those, maintain those, and make sure that they got to the GBI properly for testing?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you ever go over to the barn and check out the barn and see if you find any evidence over there?
So I believe it was the second day. Let me just verify.
I know you say the 6th, if that's right.
The 6th, yeah. When I went back out there, I was asked to do a walkthrough of the barn with the detective. So basically, I walked through with one of the detectives, and I had my camera on my neck, and basically we were checking each other. So we walked through. Does he see something else? Oh, based off of how the investigation is moving. Now I need this as evidence. Now I need this as evidence. Now I need this as evidence. So then we start taking more photographs and start documenting more things. And if we need to collect something else, we collect it.
At that point, what did you know about a gun being involved, or what was your mindset, your present sense of approach at that time of what was going on with involving a gun?
I knew we were potentially looking for a smaller caliber handgun of some kind.
When did you know about the bullet in the rib?
When?
Do you remember?
I want to say it was I can't remember. I know it was either late the first night or early the next morning, but I think it was the first night. When
you arrived, was the bullet found yet in the ribs, or was that after?
I can't recall an exact timeline.
But is it fair to say most of your investigation, while you're processing the scene, you were investigating a murder?
Yes.
Or investigating a crime, I guess I should say.
Yes.
I didn't know if when you first arrived, if you thought it was an accident, someone had a heart attack, or were you actually, it was an investigation?
In a situation like this, obviously you assume the worst and hope for the best.
Sure. And you've worked with law enforcement officers a long time.
Yes.
Gallows humor sometimes. They can work things off, or they're cynical at times.
Correct.
Do y'all begin with, oftentimes there's a theory, or maybe there's a crime, and you work it until it stops? In other words, there's no more evidence?
I would say that's fair and accurate.
And in this case, when you were doing your task in that, were you just focused on what you were assigned to do and try to find any type of evidence?
So I hope this answers your question. So, like, prime example, when I was tasked to do the tractor, I was looking for any evidence I could find on the tractor, whether it be blood or any other substance that would indicate any sort of criminal offense or other explanation. So does that help? So
sure.
So basically, we're kind of, so when we get there, we're kind of geared. We talk to the detective. Hey, what are you looking for? What do you need? And then that kind of gears us in the direction of what we're looking.
And then you independently at times can just follow the scene where it goes.
Correct.
when you went into the barn, did you find a gun?
Yes, we found a 32 caliber. I think it was a 32 caliber firearm, revolver.
Now, does Cherokee County have many murders per year?
I mean,
Do y'all respond to a lot of murders? Not really.
not really. I mean,
So,
comparative to other surrounding, more metro jurisdictions, no.
So not a lot of major violent
No.
crimes. Had you worked a case like this in a burning or something? Was this the first time?
This was the first time.
And would you, for most of the other officers, the same thing was true too?
I mean, I would assume. I mean, I don't know the other crime scene technicians' training and experience, but I would assume it was,
So when you're working a case and there's a bullet in someone's ribs that's been burned, why are you interested in finding a gun?
because at that point, I believe a reasonable and prudent person would believe that there was some kind of foul play.
And when you found this gun, what did you notice about the gun? First of all, where was it at? What type of gun was it, and what did you notice about it?
It was a 32 caliber revolver. It appeared to be old. I believe it was in a cabinet in the barn, kind of off the tack, like a tack room, I believe. And obviously, the first thing, one of the first things we do is we photograph it, and then obviously we inspect it to see if there's any rounds that have been fired or anything in it. And that's easy with the revolver recently because you can open the cylinder and look, and you can look at the primers on all of them. And none of the primers in that weapon that were loaded in the weapon had been fired. So it was photographed and left in place.
So it did not appear to be recently fired?
No.
How about the ammunition? Was the ammunition accounted for?
I remember taking pictures of lots of different ammunition for different caliber firearms.
But didn't see anything out of the ordinary?
No.
No blood, no dirty, no moved, or anything that looks like it was recently used in any way?
Didn't appear to be to me, no.
All right, tell the jury, if you would, are you a gun guy?
I am.
Like guns?
I'm not an expert, but I like guns. I like to shoot.
You have more common knowledge. You think somebody doesn't use guns?
Probably.
I'm not going to ask you how many guns you own because I wouldn't want you to ask me how many I own. But what is the difference between, say, a 32 and a 38 and a 357?
Size.
And what do you mean by
Size,
that?
speed, weight of the cartridge.
All right, for people that don't know, let me just start on this side, going from small to large. 22.
Mm-hmm.
Then you step over a 32
Yep.
bullet, then a 38,
Yep.
357.
Correct.
All right. Can those be shot in a revolver?
Yes.
And they're usually in revolvers.
Yes.
What's a 380 and a 9 though?
Typically, 380s and 9mm are
The short nine, as we
they're
call it.
semi-automatic. They're not revolvers. They hold magazines with 7, 10, 15 rounds typically.
And cowboy gun is kind of what the revolver is. Has that cylinder.
Correct.
And don't get upset with me when I say this, but oftentimes people say with a semi-automatic, it has a clip in it. I know it's a magazine, I'm not supposed to call it a clip, but that's where you put the magazine and charge it, rack it.
Correct.
And a 32 is it most commonly used in a revolver.
As far as I know, but there could be something else out there. But as far as I know, it's typically a revolver.
Okay. How about a 38 special? Can it be shot out of like a 357 or a 44 or something like that?
Yes.
So it's small enough to go through the bigger barrel.
So I have a 357.
What brand you got?
Ruger SP 101.
Mhm.
So a lot of times if I'm just target practicing, I'll shoot 38 ball ammo out of it because you can't go the other way, but because it's cheaper and it has less recoil and it's just fun to shoot. Now you can't put a 357 in a 38; it won't work. But you can go backwards.
Okay, so you can go up, you just can't go down.
Right.
You know how many pictures you took?
I have no idea.
Have you had an opportunity to meet with me? Probably too many times and look at your photographs.
Yeah, we've looked through quite a few photographs.
All right, I'm going to State's Exhibit Stewart 1 through 131. I'm going to enter those into evidence at this time.
Okay.
To Do you ever need to get some water or anything? Make yourself comfortable.
Oh, good, sir.
We'll do it a couple ways, but these are so they can go out with the jury. These are statements. Stewart 1 is 131. I'll bring them up on the computer too.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks, Shane.
Screen looked like I had it on because I can see it.
Yours was
Yeah,
just
sorry.
While this is loading up, Lieutenant.
It's
what
up
about
now,
the-
sir.
Oh, there it is. Purcell Lane. What county is this in?
Cherokee County, sir.
And is it a nice area of the county?
It is.
Is it beautiful?
It is.
All right, this is Stewart 1. We're going to walk through. What I want to do is, obviously the jury's not there at the time that the processing is taking place. I'm going to ask some questions, but I really want you to kind of think through the eyes of a juror. And you've seen it, you know it, but some things may not be in their mind as it is in yours. As we come into this, and we know that you come up the driveway and you turn right to go to the barn, is that right?
Correct.
And tell us what we're seeing here in Stewart 1. I probably would just refer to it as 1 or 2 or 3, but we're talking about the Stewart exhibit.
Okay.
So in States 1 here, what do we see?
So what you see off to the left is the barn. Well, it's got 2 sliding barn doors on the front. And then just off to the right of that, you see basically 2 sheds where obviously various equipment. I mean, you can keep various equipment. And then
When you're looking at this, the barn on the left, and where was Scott's apartment be, the son's apartment?
above the barn, so the second story, second floor.
Kind of describe the apartment, the loft over the barn. What would it be like?
I mean, it's just I guess a standard apartment, bedroom, bathroom, living room area, kitchen.
Kind of more equivalent to a hunting cabin, or more equivalent to like a fancy apartment down in Atlanta?
I would say more equivalent to maybe a man room, hunting cabin, something like that.
Like a bachelor was living there,
Basically, yeah.
who's a hunter or something like that.
Correct.
What do we see in one here straight ahead? What are those things?
Talking about what the trailer's parked in front of?
Mm-hmm. This is now 2. What do we have here?
Those are basically, I mean, I consider them storage sheds. So like you can back trailers under them, you can park equipment under them, trucks under them, whatever. They've got various tools in them, basically used for storage.
I'm never good at this. My wife has to correct me all the time. Is that a lean-to, or is it a pole barn, or what would you call that?
I mean, I call it a pole barn.
Okay. And States 3, what do we have here?
So it's the one on the left, I believe. Basically various tools in there: lawnmowers, shovels, tillers, various household, outside working tools.
4, moving to the left of that view, that same shed.
Okay.
What do we have here?
Just the other side, you have a tiller, a trailer, gas cans, a small pull behind looks like fertilizer spreader, a push mower, sprinklers, just various lawn equipment.
All right, States 5, what do we see on this wall?
On the wall, you have basically what you call I would call it a sickle on the end. You've got a shelf, you've got rakes, shovels, chain,
Tools.
tools.
State 6, looking at the front of this, just other things in that shed, is that right?
Yeah, so you got a shelf full of buckets and gas cans, and then to the left of that looks like you got a climbing ladder stand for like a hunter.
Just going around. Do you try to capture the scene as it is, not knowing whether or not it's relevant at the time?
Correct. So when you take photographs, the first thing you do is you take overall photographs. So basically, if you had to go back and overlay something on top of it, you could completely recreate the scene. And then once you find out what your evidence is, you go back and you take the other photographs, mid-range close-ups, stuff like that.
Stewart 8 here, the right side of the, I guess the right sheds here.
Yes.
Is there anything in those, or are they kind of, I guess the right one's empty, is that right?
I believe the right one's empty, yeah. Well, except for, looks like a planter.
Number 9, and when you look at this, it looks like a planter and some things have been strapped to the top.
Yeah, it's probably where, my guess is where they put the seed, to hold the seed. It looks like a planter.
I don't know if you call those toe straps, or what do you call those straps?
I mean,
come along straps?
Ratchet straps is what I call them. But
you use those at your farm?
I don't know if that's the technical term, but that's what I call them.
Stewart 10, just empty, right side of the shed here, is that right?
Yes.
All right. Stewart 11. Tell the jury what we see in this photograph and kind of where it's at in relation to everything else on the property.
So this is behind. So what I see here is obviously you're looking kind of at the side of the right shed, looking down. You know, there's obviously another lean-to or pole barn or whatever you want to call it off to the back, but there's various other equipment, and then like wheelbarrows, storage ladders, and then down behind that, parked next to a mulch pile is the Kubota tractor that I mentioned processing earlier.
And this Kubota, what does it have on the front and what does it have on the back?
So on the front, it's got a loader, which is commonly used in farm stuff. And then on the back, we'll have to get closer, but there's a farm. There's a farm. I mean, there's an implement on the back, like a small set of harrows or a drag plow or something like that. But
Stewart 12 just showing a view looking at, I guess, the front of the tractor. Is that right?
correct.
Now, describe for the jury what is to the left of the tractor, and is there anything in it, or is it empty?
The left.
This is the whole lean-to issue with me. You see that,
Oh,
that
okay.
roof that comes over?
I'm looking at it from being on the tractor. So
Okay. All right. So as you're looking at this photograph,
Right.
tractor's to your right.
Correct.
To the left, that little shed area. Is there what's in there?
Looks like on the left, it kind of looks like a wood chipper. We've got some various piping hanging on the wall, a wheelbarrow, and then looks like a plastic storage, like a storage container to store liquid. Or
Did you learn where the tractor was normally parked, whether it's normally parked under there or out like this?
I don't recall where it was normally parked. I mean, I know me personally, I keep my stuff under the barn because I want to take care of it. But I mean, I don't know. Some people keep stuff outside.
Stewart 13, we're looking at the right side of the tractor.
Correct.
Want to kind of focus in on those tires. Did you notice anything about the tractor's condition, whether it's clean, not clean, or otherwise?
It looks relatively well taken care of. I mean, cleanish. It's got some dirt on it. Got some dirt on the tires.
Stewart 14, going back looking at that, what I call a rake, or what would you call the implement on the back of the tractor?
A rake of some sort. I don't know what the technical term is. Some sort of harrow, rake, something like that.
And what is that usually used for?
That in particular, I'm not real sure. I would be assuming it's for moving ground.
All right, Stewart's 15 on the back side. Who's that gentleman standing there to the right? Do you know?
That looks like Detective Kuykendall.
And he's not crime scene. He's just a
He's just a detective. He's a sergeant in our criminal investigations division.
So this is a back view of the tractor. Has that what I call a rake on the back. Left side, just seeing the tractor's position on Stewart 16.
Yes.
Stewart 17, kind of another going around it. You just try to walk around. Is that what you're doing?
Correct. So I'm doing overalls. So I'm taking pictures of the overall piece of equipment going around.
And Stewart 18 is coming to the scoop or the bucket, or
Yes.
what'd you call it?
The bucket.
19, a little closer on the back. All right, 20, I want to go around through. I think we got pictures of the tires beginning on the right side. The right back. What do you notice about this tire?
As far as, there's dirt on the outside of the tire. It's
Stewart 21, as we're going to the front. Stewart 22, what do you notice about the front right tire?
there's dirt caked in the tread of the tire on the front where it's stopped.
Stewart 23, front bucket. If I said that bucket's about 5 feet in length, would you disagree with that?
I mean, I'd probably say close. I mean, I don't know the exact dimensions of the bucket, but I mean, I'd probably say that's close.
All right, 26, that's the front right.
Yeah, yes.
And I'm going to back up just a little bit. You see on Stewart 22, you see that white round part on the tractor.
You talking about the oil filter?
Yeah, the filter. So Stewart 26, you're talking about the front right.
Yes.
Stewart 27, what is this picture of?
That's the front right tire.
The mud on the tire.
Yes.
Stewart 28, back picture of the right front tire. Is that right?
I think so. I can't really tell.
And then Stewart 29, the back right.
Yes.
Stewart 29, the back right. Stewart 30, excuse me. All right, now, on the left side, the writing's on the other side. Let me go back so you know this. So you see in Stewart 20, you see that HST is on the right there. Now we're on the left side. So left back tire, describe that for us.
It's got some earth, looks like earth debris on the, or dirt, leaves, whatever on the top.
32, just another picture of it.
Close-up picture.
33, this is the left step.
Correct.
Now, Stewart 34, what are we focusing on here, kind of towards the top of this step?
So about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way across, the very top of the step, there's several small reddish brown stains, and that's a close-up photo of it.
Is that seen here in Stewart 35?
Yes.
Do you have training in detecting blood or seeing blood?
Yes.
What kind of training do you have in that?
So, in my career, I've seen lots of human blood over the course of 26 years of working the road, being on wrecks, answering calls. But we also, as a crime scene technician, there's a 40-hour class you have to take. It's called blood stain pattern analysis. So it helps you learn how to identify different stains, stuff like that.
And what do you learn in those classes? Tell us just basically what, when it comes to blood splatter or blood patterns or things like that.
So you learn how to determine, like in certain things, like certain instance, area of impact, area of origin. So like it doesn't really apply in this case, but because of obviously we don't have anything else than just one piece of evidence. But so if you have, a blood spatter on the wall and it's here, and somebody says I was standing up and I was hitting the head with something, you basically can say, well, I don't think that's the case because the area of origin would be down here. So you learn how to pull measurements and strings and whatnot to kind of determine. You learn directionality of blood drops. So you learn, basically that 90-degree droplets are round. You learn various patterns of blood. There's all kind of patterns of blood, white patterns, swipe patterns, saturation patterns. Basically, it's just the scientific way to describe what kind of pattern it is. So, for example, if it's a white pattern, I'm sure everybody's seen where somebody's tried to clean something up and they wipe it in a circle. You can tell obviously that that's what they call a white pattern. It means it looks like it's been tried to be wiped up. Or you have a swipe pattern, which means like if I'm bleeding from the hand and I walk by this wall and I brush it, obviously that's two different looks. That's what they would call a swipe pattern. Basically, I swiped something across it. I swiped the object across it. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. So if I was shot in the arm, I held my arm out, and blood would drop 90 degrees down vertical, what would it look like?
It would be completely round.
Okay. And can blood be transferred from one place to another?
Yes.
From one substance or thing to another?
Correct.
When you look at this, can you tell if this has any indication of any of those things you talk about?
It could be any number of things. It could be a transfer stain. It could be.
It could be a drop.
It could be a drop because you have one looks like 90 degree on the right, but that could have come off something as well.
But could have been transferred
Could have
to?
been transfer. I mean, there's no way I can definitively give you the answer.
Stewart 36?
Yes.
Just a closer of that?
It's another close-up. It's done with a ABFO scale that we use those in close-up photographs so that people can get a size reference on how the size of something. So if we have to, we'll go back and recreate something later. If something has to be recreated later, you can get approximate size.
And technically, I think this was going to be GBI out of 1919B, and it's a swab 2 sample that you took. So this is the sample of the blood from the tractor that you took and was turned into the GBI.
Yes, sir.
And how many, when you take swabs, we're stipulating to this, so it doesn't really matter, but when you take a swab, how many swabs are you doing?
So it depends. So on something like this, I took, because I have 1 sample, I do 2. So when you collect this sample, it was dry. So if it's wet, you don't have to do anything. You can just swab it up. If it's dry, you have to use some sort of substance to be able to lift it. So we use sterile water, denatured water, whatever you want to call it. So the first thing that we do is we're going to use 2 swabs. The first one, we put the water comes in little vials, if that helps you guys out to kind of picture it. So you drop the water on top of the first swab. It looks like a big Q-tip basically, and you put that in. You package that so that way they can go back and you can go back and show later that the water was not contaminated. The water wasn't. There was nothing wrong with it. It was sterile. It came from a sterile environment. And then you go back and you wet the second Q-tip because the moisture in the water is just what's going to basically reconstitute enough of it to where it's not going to turn into a liquid again, but it'll reconstitute it enough to get it to lift with that, and then that got packaged as well.
And as you did in this case, when you package something, just describe the packaging that's put in
So,
to secure.
Any type of biological evidence, such as blood, gets packaged in paper or cardboard, and the reason that it does is because obviously, everybody's put stuff in a plastic bag and seen it turn to mold or, seen it grow things inside. Well, because this is biological evidence, it goes inside typically we use swab boxes, so they come flat like this, and you have to fold them up and make a box out of them, and they have a little tab, 2 perforated tabs that pop up that it's a long swab, so like a longer dental type swab that slides in there. So that's the way we package them, so that way they can, because cardboard's porous, so that way it can dry, and it doesn't allow moisture to stay in there and turn things moldy or grow things or whatever.
All right, going from there, Stewart 37, just in front left tire. Stewart 38, I think it's the same thing. And then 39, do you just start walking around the backside of the barn?
Yes.
Stewart 40, Stewart 41, Stewart 42, Stewart 43. Is there an area at Stewart 43, an opening where you could drive a tractor into that overhang?
Correct. I mean, I would have to make sure it was tall enough, but I would assume that's what it's used to park equipment.
And the rest of the pictures up to Stewart 46, kind of just showing pictures of the backside of the barn.
Yes, sir.
Stewart 47, were there animals on the property when y'all were out there? Do you remember?
I want to say there was horses and chickens.
All right, so we're going to start going into the barn. You took photographs of the barn?
Correct.
Stewart 48. I'm just going to kind of walk through them if that's okay. Stewart 49. Stewart 50. Stewart 51. Have a little visitor there. Do you see him?
Yeah, little lab.
Stewart 52. Stewart 53. Stewart 54. Did you see the horses on the property?
I don't recall, but I would assume I did.
Stewart 55. Stewart 56. 57. 58. 59. 60. 61. 62. 63. 64. 65, 66, 67 now, kind of in the tool room.
Yes.
68, 69, 70. And did you notice that there were ropes and other things around the property?
I mean, yeah, there was various. I mean, you see a rope hanging off the extension cords. There's ropes hanging on the wall. There was chains in one of the shed earlier. So yeah, there's ropes and chains all over the place.
72, now up to 73, 74, 75, 6, 77, 78. We see some of these rifle shotguns. Where are these?
You can. It looks like the bottom two are rifles, and I can't tell if the top one's a shotgun or a rifle.
Just going through the rest of these. Now 83. This is the tack room for the horses.
It's one of the. I mean, there's saddles in there. There's fishing rods, various things.
All right, let me go back. Stewart 94. What do we have a picture here? Can you see it?
I believe that's the 32 revolver we discussed earlier.
For the record, what are we looking at here in Stewart 94? Describe it in words if you could.
It was you're talking about we're in the tack room. There's a cabinet, or in one of the storage rooms. There's a cabinet that's open. It's got various items in it, and then there's a 32 revolver, or there's a revolver laying underneath it with ammunition, boxes of ammunition beside it.
So Stewart 95 shows the gun as you found it.
Yes.
Stewart 96. What do we have here?
So that's the inside, like I previously mentioned. That's we obviously inspect the weapons when we pick them up. So we opened the cylinder and looked, and you can note that that's a 6-shot revolver, and there's the little round circles in the middle of the cartridges or the primers. And if those would have been fired, there would have been imagine like taking a nail, like taking a nail and hitting it on a piece of wood and then pulling it out. You'd have like a little indention in the primer, showing that it had been fired. Then obviously we would have collected the shell casing.
97, just showing the name of the gun.
Yes, it's a Winchester.
And then 98, some just pictures of the chicken coop, I guess.
Correct.
Just go through those. Now 115, on now transition, I guess this will be on July 6th.
Looks like the garbage cans downstairs because you can see the blue tarp that it's sitting on.
So Stewart 115 is the garbage can. Is that the picture, just a picture of the outside?
Correct.
I guess, what's that, a blue tarp under it?
Yes.
Why do you do that?
Well, because I'm fixing to lay stuff out on it so that I can photograph it and take pictures. And I want to try to keep it as obviously I'm outside, so I want to try to keep it as sterile as possible.
116. Now you were involved in interviewing people to know anything about a dish or why the dish is there?
No, I mean I'm assuming it's in the garbage can because it's broken, but sometimes the smallest things can be evidence. So you
sure.
document
No, I'm
everything.
not disputing that, but the point is you didn't talk to witnesses to know anything about it.
No, I did not.
You just found it.
Mm-hmm.
So Stewart 116. What do we see here?
So like I mentioned earlier, there was food in the garbage can, packs of cigarettes, and then obviously a broken plate.
117. I guess what you do is you peel the onion, you take some off, take another layer off.
Correct. So first, like if I was doing this, I would take an overall picture of the top of the garbage can, then I would take a few things out, take pictures again, so that way everything can be photographed, and you systematically lay it out across the tarp, which I'm sure you'll see that in a minute, and then you take an overall photograph from the top so you can see everything at one time that was found in there.
Y'all don't just willy-nilly get some evidence and throw it there in the back of the truck. Are y'all
No.
very careful and punctilious in how you actually go through all the evidence, step by step, piece by piece, making sure you're processing it,
Yes.
packaging it right?
Yes.
All right, 118. What is this?
That's a picture of that's a close-up picture of the broken plate laying on the tarp.
119, still going through the
And we're back in the garbage can again.
120. What do we have here?
Photographs of the papers.
121.
Plant leaves. Looks like plant leaves. There's food.
122 showing some documents and food.
Yes.
123, you're laying it out. Is that right?
Correct.
124. What is the photograph 124? Stewart 124.
So it was a document that was found in the garbage can. It was referenced second quarter earnings from. Looks like talking about finances.
Who is it addressed to? This document
Equity Partners.
from Leo Howell.
Yes.
What date was it?
It was dated June 12th of 2018.
And regards, what does it say? Or reference.
So it says reference second quarter earnings. For me to continue to read it, or
Yeah, if you could, just
Okay.
for the record.
so it says enclosed are the following estimated earnings through the second quarter of 2018 and the summary income statement through May 31st, 2018. Second quarter live tax draw check, or if you elect a direct deposit, you can view your stub on, it looks like mybird.com, but it's all wrinkled, so I can't.
Right, and then there's,
Yeah.
says LRH and attachments.
Correct.
Stewart 125, did you find this in the garbage can?
Correct.
Let me pull it down here. Stewart 125, what's it say at the top, the best you can
So
make
it says estimated year-to-date earnings. It looks like it says cumulative by quarter.
If you could, there's 1, 2, 3, are there 4 columns on this piece of paper or this document?
Yes, sir.
And the left column, is it kind of it says something about by quarter and partner, is that right?
Correct.
And then what is listed in that column below alphabetically?
It looks, to a layperson, and to me, it looks like last names.
Okay? But it makes out a name, like that's not gibberish, it's just like
Correct.
Abbott, Jones, Joseph, Kavanaugh, Keller.
Those are all common last names that I've heard, so I would make the assumption that they would be last names.
Appears to be alphabetically.
Yes.
The second column has a percentage of 2018 percentage of partnership, is that right?
Yes.
And it has different percentages per person.
Correct.
Third column says YTD year-to-date earnings 3/31/2018 first quarter.
Yes.
And then year-to-date earnings 5/31/2018 second quarter.
Yes.
Are some of these figures in money over $100,000?
Absolutely.
Some of it over $300,000?
Let's see. Yes.
Stewart 126. What do we have here?
That looks like a 20.
Everybody loves to get this thing, don't they? The tax bill.
Absolutely. It's the 2018 tax statement for the 2155 Purcell Lane.
Cherokee County Board of Assessors. Is that
Yes.
what's labeled at the top? So
Yes.
Stewart 126. Who is it made out to?
It's made out to Gary W. Ferris and Melody W. Ferris.
So both names are on. Is that
Correct.
right? What's the address?
The address that we're here for today, 2155 Purcell Lane.
So 2155 Purcell Lane.
Yes, sir.
Official tax matter, and it says it's the annual assessment notice date May 14, 2018,
Yes.
and then last date to file written repeal June 28, 2018.
Yes.
So for the property, current year fair market value of the property, what is that?
Looks like $1,036,900.
So $1,036,900,
Correct.
and that was the value of it back in 2018.
Correct. According to the county, yes.
Stewart 127. What is this document?
It's a pay statement, a paper copy of a pay statement to address to Gary Ferris.
Stewart 127. If you look at To the right over here, what is the period start date and the period end date?
It shows it's the month of May, so May 1st, 2018 to May 31st, 2018.
Okay. What is the pay group?
Birmingham Monthly, it says.
What was the job?
Partner equity.
It has a pay rate.
It says $159.05. Now I don't understand what that means as far as, but
Actually, let me go to Stewart. Go to Stewart 128. Stewart 120, kind of the same thing,
correct.
just a clear copy.
Yes,
And this pay date is April.
it's
of
from April
2000
instead of May.
Pretty much is very similar to the Stewart 127, but after, not the gross, but the net. What is the amount for that month?
It says the total says $20,969.37.
Whose name is at the top there?
Gary W. Farris.
All right, in the trash can, maybe another trash can looks like.
Correct. There was two.
Stewart 129, we see something poking out of the top there. I'm going to go to Stewart 130. What do we have here?
A bunch of soda cans, Mountain Dew cans, empty cartons of cigarettes.
Would you consider that evidence if you had to use common sense and inference that he liked Mountain Dew?
Correct.
And then 131.